All right, boys and girls, let's get the party started. Today, we are going to talk about how to import from China so you can find trustworthy suppliers and make 6, 7, or even 8 figures per year, all without overwhelming amount of work and without travels. Now, I'm going to show you in this training how we consistently help Fortune 500 company for the past 24 years, finding the best deals in China and maintain a consistent supply of goods. And I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of Fortune 500 companies when you are buying from China, even when you are just getting started. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Hong, and I'm the guy who has been helping many of the Fortune 500 companies and other smaller companies with their sourcing in China. Some of the companies we help are Walmart, Macy's, JCPenney's, Target, Sears, and tons of others. I'm the creator of China Sourcing Blueprint for newbie buyers who want to tap into the huge opportunities of importing from China. And for the past 24 years, I have been involved in every aspect of the import and export business, moving billions and billions of products all around the world. Now, here's what you will learn during this training. I'll show you how to buy from China so you can get the best deals from suppliers and not worry about being scammed. How to buy from China and get the best prices even when you're not a Walmart. How to avoid getting poor quality products so you can finally sleep at night knowing products will be delivered exactly the way you want. And a brand new way to get consistent supply from China, get a consistent supply of products from best suppliers in China. Now, why is this important to you? Because most of the stuff people teach you about buying from China is that wrong. You see, they teach you about buying on B2B platform, which yes, provide you with some easy access, but is so overwhelming that sorting through them is such a pain in the ass. When you're buying from China, you gotta know where geographically to buy them. China has a very different system of industrialization compared to most of the Western world. They have a whole bunch of cities that are dedicated to build just one stuff. So let's say you are buying toilet bowl, you gotta go to this one city, right? And if you are buying fashion accessory, there's another city that builds that. If you are building plastic products, then you have to go to another city. So knowing the right city can make a whole bunch of difference when you're acquiring a product. And getting the quality products at the right price and avoid being scammed. Now, who is this for? If you are an importer and want reliable suppliers from China, this is for you. If you are thinking about buying from China and want to make sure you start right, this is definitely for you. If you want to have better profit, beat the pants off of your competitors, this is definitely for you. And if you want to get the best quality out of China, this is definitely for you. If you want to make sure you won't get scammed buying from China, this is going to help you. And if you need consistent product supply and you want to have big profits, this is for you. If you're worried about buying from China because of all the fraudulent stories you have ever heard, this is definitely for you because you are going to discover the best practice when you're buying from China that will save you tons of money, time, and resources. All right, boys and girls, so let's do a little bit of housekeeping first. Now, this training is not one of those do nothing and get paid kind of training. It's not for those people who are looking for some ways of, some get rich quick type of product. And it's not for people who want to knock off somebody else's product. No shenanigans here. I'm a strong advocate of doing everything legally so you can keep the government happy, keep yourself happy, and there are many other ways of making a good income without having to do anything illegal. And I have to tell you that my results aren't remotely typical. I have been doing this for a long time. All right, so a little housekeeping here. This is not one of those do nothing and get paid kind of training. No get rich quick. And we are not going to show you how to knock off somebody else's product. This is not that type of training. And I also have to say my results aren't remotely typical. I have been doing this for a long time. And it should be obvious that most people who buy any how to do something type of training will not make any money whatsoever. Just like if you want to get fit and you join a gym membership, but you never go there and work out, it's probably not going to work out for you. So, yes, I have been doing this for a long time. This is my 24th year in the import and export business, so I do have a little bit of advantage over most of people. Yes, I do have a huge network of suppliers that I have worked with for the past 24 years, day in and day out, and they know me well. Yes, I do have the advantage of traveling there every single month for the past, I don't know how many years now. And I speak the language, yes, and that is an advantage that I have, and I admit that. So you would naturally think that I started doing this import and export business just right off the bat and just went bang, like a rocket, right? Well, if only that were the case. I mean, in fact, if you have been a friend of mine for a long time, and you know me personally, you probably know that I usually go out and screw up really, really big time before I reach any type of success. And this import and export business is no different than any other stuff that I have been doing. Now, if you think this import business is difficult and you don't know where to start, well, I know exactly how you feel. Let me tell you a little story about myself. Now, I'm an immigrant kid, and as a kid, we moved around a lot, our family. By the time I was 16, we have lived in Asia, South America, and the States. I never did particularly well at school, mainly because I didn't enjoy studying things that I wasn't interested in. And I got horrible grades throughout high school, college, and it took me 6 years to finish what most people would do in 2 years. And I finally decided to give up school at all and dropped out of college. I failed in every single business I started and bought into a whole bunch of those get-rich-quick programs, did a whole bunch of those stuff. I lost a whole bunch of money doing those get-rich-quick stuff, and I was $45,000 in debt. So I moved to Asia with no friends, no job. I barely spoke the language and didn't know what to do. So that's when it hit me. If I were to ever reach any type of success in my life, I had to put my foot down and stick to one thing and become an expert at it. So I began seeking advice from experts that spoke the language, understood the culture, and the infrastructure of how the entire thing worked. Those people who have proven track record of 10 plus years in the industry. And I decided to commit to just real professionals who understood the market and live and breathe on a daily basis. I invested time and money with the industry experts and committed to following their teaching to the letter. And thanks to that decision I made years ago, I was able to help many of my clients get great deals in China, and I have now created this system to help you, to take you through, to cut many years out of hardship for you, and you can take this import business, start this import business much faster than I was able to. So let's take a look and see how this will work for you. Okay, so why China? Well, for the obvious reason, China is the biggest export country in the world. They manufacture anything, just about anything that you use on a daily basis. It is also known as the factory of the world. And another reason that most people don't know about is China does have very fast R&D, research and development of products. They might not be the most creative people. So if you want to create something, no, don't go to China. You do that on your own, and you send it to China for it to be built. But if you already have something and you want that built, there's no better place than China. The prices are incredibly discounted compared to any other country in the world, and the delivery is fast because all the infrastructure right now are built around China on manufacturing. So you can get your products built and sent very fast and very consistently. There are some weaknesses, however, to building your products in China. The first I want to talk about is the quality difference. Now, depending on what kind of suppliers that you get, there will be a huge difference in terms of their quality. The location, because China is such a huge country, you will get many different suppliers of different type of products all over the country. And because the infrastructure isn't the way it is in the Western countries, a lot of times they have manufactured that dedicated the entire city that does one thing. So it's convenient for everybody, okay? And so coordinating the logistics is very difficult. And there are a lot of logistic complication because of that. And a lot of times the suppliers will also overestimate their ability to produce something. So they want to get your business and they think they can do whatever thing that you tell them that they can do. And they end up telling you, oh, yes, yes, sir, we can do that. And at the end of the day, once you start involving more into the project, then you will figure out that, well, they are not as capable as they say they would be. So that's a big thing to watch out for. So now let me show you how this thing works, and you can decide for yourself if you want to apply it. Now for this business called importing, I have chunked it down to 5 steps for you to generate import profit. The first step is the recognition, also known as 关系. Now, 关系 is a Chinese word which means relationship, networking, whatnot. Basically, China is very different from other places. Well, you already know that. And but a lot of work that you will find, a lot of working relationship that you will find in China is always built on 关系. So it's not about how big of a fist you have, but rather it's about, you know, who do you know, and whether these people trust you or not, and whether they can hook you up and to do business. So your first step is building that network. It's very important. Remember that movie Donnie Brasco? Well, it's kind of like that, where, you know, remember Al Pacino took Johnny Depp and then sort of just hooked him up, and then so he was with the mafia and stuff like that. It's exactly like that in China. Okay, so oh gosh, I just love that movie. Okay, anyway, the second step is your evaluation process. Now that you have, you know, you've been introduced, you know, you are one of the boys now. Now, well, in order for you to begin working with them, you got to know how to evaluate the entire process. And then the third step is you got to know about the production process. That way you can communicate clearly and make sure that there's no misunderstanding. between you and the factory. In fact, most people that go to China at first, they don't understand the culture well, and they tend to think that these people are just trying to screw you. And in fact, that's not necessarily the case. Most of the time, I find just once you there's a big difference in the language and in the culture. So something that to you might not be acceptable to them, well, that's just part of the life. So you gotta be able to bridge that gap together, and so that your communication process becomes very, very important when you are dealing with Chinese suppliers. And the last thing that we'll talk about is the shipping and delivery, how you can make sure that you get your products on time and you get it most effectively and you get the product most economically when you ship these products to your warehouse. Our first step is the recommission. That's where you start to build that network. And there are three questions, primary questions that you must ask before you start. First one is, where can you find them, the best suppliers? And the second question is, what kind of supplier will work best for you? And what must you do before you work with them? Now, where can you find them? A lot of people will tell you to go on one of those B2B websites and look for the supplier. But in fact, most of the suppliers that I know, the best suppliers are not on those B2B websites. Okay, so what other options do you have that you can use to find these people? One of the best resources that I use is places like trade offices. Okay, you can find a lot of trade offices in all the major cities. For example, Chinese, you can call the Chinese embassy and ask them for the local trade office near you, or somewhere that you can call. Or you can call the Taiwan trade office called the Taiwanese consulate, or Hong Kong trade offices. Okay, so there are a lot of the resources with this trade office. They can refer you to the right people. And best part of all, most of these people that will work with the trade offices are real deal suppliers. They don't screw around. So you can skip a lot of heartaches and stuff like that, by working with the trade offices. They can send you to the right people. Another place is the trade association. If you Google whatever industry you are in, you will find a lot of different trade associations for you. And normally those the people that are in the trade association are the ones that are already checked, and then they already have they already do trade show around the world and are more reliable suppliers. And you want to start building a network with these people, because these people not only will be able to refer you to the right suppliers, they will also be able to tell you what's going on within the industry, what's hot, what products sell, and all the latest information. Even if when you are managing your business halfway around the world, you want to know whether your supplier is in good standing with everybody else. So you know that you are finding somebody that you can trust, or in some scenarios, some companies might be in big doo-doo. So if you build this network, people will let you know what's going on. All right, so you can find out what's going on before it happens and protect yourself. Now, what kind of suppliers should you look for? You have heard people tell you that, you want to buy from the source. Okay, you want to go out. How do I know I'm working with a factory? I have to go to China. I have to check them out. Well, the fact is, that is a myth. And in fact, for most of the people, that would not work. You see, unless you are buying container upon container loads of products, most of the factory won't give you the time of the day. It's not because they are bad people. It's just that it simply is the way factory work. They are not very accommodating with smaller orders. So you have to be able to know, okay, to know where to look for the right type of supplier for you. Then you have to ask whether you are building your own product or you are just buying something out of stock. Now, if you go to a factory that is built on demand, then that's probably not somewhere that you will get the best deal if you are just looking to get some stock, right? Now, if you are building your own product, obviously you want to go to somebody who is building products on a more on-demand basis, so you can get the supply whenever you want. But notice that you have to plan your lead time ahead of time as well. You got to plan for that time of delivery. And what must you do prior to working together with a supplier? Well, the first thing is you have to do a reference check. Now, obviously, you're working halfway around the world, so sometimes it's a little bit difficult to run a credit check overseas. But don't worry, this is what I do. This is strategy, and it works very well. What I do is I always ask the supplier for 3 references. And, obviously, if you're in the States, ask them for 3 people that they work in the States, and then contact them and find out how the suppliers work. You can do by email or by telephone check. And a lot of times, this is reciprocation. So they will also ask you how what kind of experience you have had with other suppliers. So a lot of people are willing to talk to you about it. Also, you want to know whether they are overseas business unit or something local. Like you have to check all their business licenses. What happens is with Chinese regulations, the government regulation that controls the currency, a lot of time people cannot get their money out of China. So what they do is they create a business account overseas and then to receive the money. The problem with that is when they do that is if something shall happen, that account is not going to be able to to be responsible for whatever damage or things like that that might happen. So you want to be careful with that. You got to check that everything links to their business license, their business account, and make sure that when you're working with these people, you have somehow be able to get them liable for whatever liability that you might see forthcoming. Okay. And also very important is that you find out their capabilities. A lot of factories are very aggressive in getting businesses. So what they will do is they will tell you that they can produce anything under the sun. And that's not a bad thing, except that a lot of times they are also overestimating their ability to do something. So you got to be careful with that. All right. So if they tell you, say, oh yeah, we can produce this bag, we can stitch that, we can do EVA foam, whatever. Now, a lot of time that's not true, because what will happen is they will need to get the EVA foam from somewhere else, get it molded, get it produced, and then bring it to their factory. And if their factory don't have the stitching machine or don't have something that can make that bag, then they're gonna have to send it somewhere else and make it. So that itself is going to be very difficult, arranging all that logistic and make sure that everything works between factory and factories. Okay, so be careful with that. And obviously, you want to find out the working terms beforehand. like lead time, payment term, bill of material, which supplier that they use, and things like that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about sample and the evaluation of samples. Okay, so let me give you an example here. When I started my audio business back in 2010, I got the support of a factory that was making and selling huge amounts of audio and lighting equipment in China. Now, the thing I did was I identified first where they were having trouble selling. Once I knew that, I started building a plan on how they are going to benefit by working with me. And then I presented a plan to them where I showed them where the customers are and how I'm ready to make the sale for you if you can provide the quality my customers are looking for. So I brought a couple customers with me and then to the factory, and I talked to the owner. I showed them how important it is and how big of the market they are losing out. So because of that, I built the trust, and very quickly they started becoming very aggressive on wanting to work with me on that market. So I got tons of free samples from them. I got my toolings for free, and all by demonstrating a market knowledge that they didn't have. Okay, so here are some tips for you to get free samples. Now, most of the factory will provide you with free samples if they think that you are a big shot, you are a big business. Now, don't abuse that. If it's something really, really expensive, hand-built, well, you're probably not going to get sample for that. But for most of the stuff, yes, you are going to get some free sample if you're serious about doing business with them. Okay. You also want to build a good reputation for yourself and not just go out there and get a whole bunch of free sample. And you want to establish yourself as a serious buyer. Okay. Very interesting enough. The Chinese supplier, they still work very old school. So if you go to a trade show or whatnot, when you meet these people, you'll see that a lot of them are still dressed up, and then they want to present themselves well. Even when you open up a catalog, right? You will see that on the front of the catalog, they will have the name of the president, how long they have been in business. Then they will show you a whole bunch of different certificates that they have to say, yeah, this is how good we are. And seriously, nobody really cares, right? I mean, most of the people can read the certificate in Chinese, but that's how they do it. And then they show you a whole bunch of picture of their factory, how big of a factory, and what kind of machine that do they have, all that stuff. So that's the type of mentality this suppliers have, and you want to follow the same type of mentality when you are dealing with them, because you are also selling them why they should work with you, why they why you are a good prospect. All right, so establish yourself as a very serious buyer. Okay, and whenever you can, when they give you the sample or whatnot, you ship them by air. Okay, don't go overly complicated. What you do is, the faster you can make a decision, the quicker, the bigger of a buyer you sound, right? I mean, imagine this: people like Walmart, they get samples of different type of products all the time, right? And if it's something that they want, they say, okay, yep, ship it to me. Here's my account number, right? Send it to me by FedEx. Send it to me by DHL, something like that, right? So. Ship them by air. It will cost you a little bit initially, but it will save you a lot of time, right? Get your business moving at a much faster pace, and the time that you save is gonna make you a lot more money. Okay, so do this right, and you get amazing support from your supplier. Okay, so let's have a little fun with numbers, and this is what actually happened. I knew this guy who was, who was neighbor with this guy that was like the big VP of purchasing with Ford. So it was a few years back, but back then that was when cars started to have that side marker, that blinking thingy on the side of the car. And then, so Ford was actually buying this product from Germany at $32.50 a piece. Okay, so I was telling this friend of mine and say, oh yeah, I'm getting this thing for $32.50 a piece from Germany, and they are fantastic and all this and that, all this good quality. So my neighbor said, oh wow, really? Okay, well I know this guy, and he can probably find you a better deal. And so anyway, so it was for that year they were looking to buy 1 million pieces. Okay, at $32.50, that equals $32.5 million just for the little side marker blinker thing, right? And so my friend talked to me, and I said, okay. I started looking for him, and I found a supplier in China that was actually manufacturing the same stuff and sell to Germany, to this company in Germany. And then, they were selling it for $2.30 a piece. So imagine that. Okay, that's a difference of $30.20 per piece. Okay, isn't that a nice chunk of change? Okay, that's more than 15 times. Okay, and so $30.20 a piece times $1 million. That's $30 million and change. Okay, that they have saved just for me finding that one supplier for them. So there could be a huge difference when you're working with China if you can find the right supplier, okay, and take advantage of that, okay. And the trick to making it all work is you got to understand how the factory works, okay. Now, you have to make the offer relevant to the weakness that they have and writing along what they are already doing, okay. The thing is, factory is a very complex system, like I said. And, if you understand the mentality that goes behind manufacturing, then it will become much easier for you to negotiate a better deal for you. And, the point is you don't want to make a factory to go out of the way and do stuff for you, okay? You want to ride along the way, do a little piggyback. Okay, so if you have a smaller quantity of purchase, no problem. Okay, plan ahead of time and let them know and say, hey, when are you when are you next producing for Walmart? Okay, I want the same product, and here is just make it for me at the time, right? And pick it up. Okay, so make it easy for the factory to work with. Hey, get to know what resources they have available, okay, like, who do they work with, and, you can get all that information when you are building the relationship with them just by asking their references, right? So they will always want to tell you who are the big guys that we're working with, right? So, get to know that, and then, you'll make your business a lot easier. Okay, and remember, you have to propose something substantial for the factory to even work with you. Now, this is what I normally do. Okay, I'll go talk to them and I'll tell them, say, I'm looking to buy, let's say, 10,000 pieces. Now, that might be my entire year worth of volume for that product. But hey, I'll just go talk to them with that high volume, right? And then I'll get a couple samples order going first, and once I'll tell them, well, let me make sure that all the samples, all the products are selling, have the quality that you say they have, right? And I can get a few sample orders, make sure that those products are moving fast, and after that, I can place a bigger order with them. Okay, so this is the one simple strategy that helped me offset my initial cost completely whenever I'm working with a Chinese supplier. And what else is there? Well, like I said, get to know their production schedule, when they are producing what, right? Factories, they normally require 40 to 45 days with their supplier just to acquire the raw materials, right? So plant, they normally have to plan much waiting in advance. So you talk to them, find out when they are producing what type of product, so you can write along the way much easier. And do they have ready inventory or not? There are two different types of factory, right? One that produce ready inventory there, and so you can just place an order with them and get it shipped anytime you want, almost, right? Or some other factories are made to order. So those kind of factory, you kind of have to plan a much longer lead time, okay? Normally your shipping time from China to the States, nowadays they are very fast. You can do it within probably 14 to 20 days, depending where you are going, right? So, get that, schedule, or if you're going by air, obviously, will be much faster, but you know that time, right? So give yourself a good time window and make sure that you are not rushing it, okay? And, well, that's a lead time, okay? Cool. So now let's talk a little bit about the production process and how you can know what you are getting to before the time. So what do you need to know before you commit? Okay. Now, before you commit to a supplier, you want to do a factory survey. If you can't do it in person, then hire somebody to do it for you. Okay, that's the surest way of making sure that the factory is legit and is doing all the stuff they promise you that they say they will do. Now, there are numbers of inspection agency in China, like for example SGS, GES, whatever. So it's a little bit, if you are not buying a big amount, then it doesn't really matter. But if you are buying a big amount, that could be a very good investment. What we do is we have people there visiting factory every time we are getting a new supplier, so they'll make sure that it is a legit business and meet these people. Now, it will give you much better, them in person as well. Okay, so do a factory survey if you can, and if you are placing a big order and you cannot do the survey, hire somebody to do it for you. Okay, and okay, well, I got a little bit ahead of myself with the PowerPoint here. Okay, so what do you do before you place your order? Now, what are the production process for your product? You got to know that. It's very important that you know that and you establish your standard operating procedure, okay? And what inspection points should your products have, right? So you got to know your product preferably better than the factory. If not, right, try to get a little bit of more understanding before you get that product produced or purchase that product, okay? And you want to finalize your price and your payment term before the order is placed, okay? About payment term, okay? So there are a couple of options that you can do. One is letter of credit or TT in advance. Most of the factories in China would not take credit cards. And then, in fact, most of the country don't use credit card. Most of the people don't have a credit card. So it's a very, very different system that they run there about payment. Letter of credit, it's a little bit more complicated, but if you do it a couple times, it's not that hard. Okay, the shipping company will take care of all the shipping document and match everything with your bank, and make sure everything's all right. So once you got that deal with your bank, it's not a difficult thing to do. All right, TTA in advance, what it does, what it means is you are just sending cash basically to their account on pure faith. Okay, and but if it's somebody you are just beginning to work with, a little small sample order, paying in TT advance, normally you will not get screwed. Most of the people, believe it or not, in China, they want to do business in the long term. So out of all the years that I have been working with Chinese factories, I have never ever encountered anybody just took my money and run. The only time that you would ever have a conflict with a supplier is when you are not communicating correctly. So, you want to buy the product, you have a certain specification, certain standard that you want to obey to, but the factory wasn't communicating correctly, and they have already produced your product, then that's when you'll have a little bit of problem with payment. So you want to make sure that process is communicated correctly. Okay, and what I normally do is I always split them into different payment if I were to do TT in advance. Okay, so obviously I have been working with this factories a lot longer, and they trust me. So a lot of time they will give me more preferable treatment. But with a lot of factories, what you can do is just negotiate to pay them something like 30%, right, to produce a product, and then another 30% before the delivery, another 30% before they give you the release on your bill of lading. Okay, so or something like that, right? I mean, not 30%, but 1/3. Okay, so go 1/3 all the way, right, until the products are in the water, right? Being delivered to you. Now, this part is important. You have to sign your contract in Chinese. Okay, get them translated. Okay, hire somebody to translate, because the Chinese court system will only honor contract signed in Chinese. So if you don't get your contract signed in Chinese, at the end of the day, you're going to go through a much more, you're going to go through much more pain trying to pin down your Chinese counterpart if anything shall happen. All right. So whatever things that you are trying to produce in China, and you want to get something contracted, your payment terms and stuff like that, make sure it is done in Chinese, okay? And get it notarized, obviously. This will help you protect your money and make sure that you get what you ask for before you even pay them. Okay, so let's go into quality control process. Let me give you 5 tips to get the top-notch quality products that you are looking for. Step number 1 is to have clear communication process. Number 2 is you want to close the gap between you and the factory, and you want to establish SOP. Make sure that you leave nothing to chance, and again, have your contract in Chinese. And the first step here is clear communication. Now, if you are building your own product, make sure that and this is highly recommended, make sure that you produce the prototype in your own country, all right? Somewhere where you have more control, access to what you are building. Once you have that done, okay, build a few of them, then send them to the factory. Otherwise, what you will find out is a lot of these Chinese suppliers, these factories, they are very good at building something you already have, but they are not very creative people. So if you want to wait for them to build a prototype, it's going to take you forever, okay, to get it to the right detail you want. One time I was making simple stuff, I mean, just like a product catalog, right? I mean, you would think that, okay, I got all this thing design and then all the layout, everything, all the color matching, all done. All I have to do is just send you a CD and you just print it, whatever, this on that CD. I swear to God, I mean, everything that came out of that factory when I got the sample, I could just die. I mean, the colors were completely off. And then despite the fact that I had already given them the Pantone colors and everything else, right? So, and I went back and forth with these people, say, what's this not what I gave you? This is not what I ordered. What are you doing? What are you giving me right here? And they said, well, no, I mean, that's not possible. We cannot produce this. No color printer in the world can produce this type of coloring, right? So ended up, I had my designer print it out, all right, in the States, and then I mailed to them, and then they saw the copy and said, oh, okay, and then next thing you know, a week later, boom, they produced exactly the same thing. Okay, so just have fun with that and make sure that you produce your prototype somewhere near you where you have all the control. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Okay, let me give you some of the checkpoints that you need to do when you're communicating with the factory. All right, one part is your prototype or your mock-ups. Okay, this mock-up is the language that factories use. Okay, so you want to communicate with the same language, and then make sure you produce it and send it to them. And then you want to make sure that they have a few samples to you from the pilot run. Pilot run, what it means is before the production, the factory will actually produce in very small batch, right? And to make sure that they have all the production process in place before they put that into mass production. And you want to make sure that your sample at this point is something that you want, or else once it goes into mass production, it'll be a lot harder to make changes, okay? And then you want to check your mass production, obviously. After they have completed production, you want to make sure that they will send you more samples that you can check out and make sure that's exactly what you want. Now, obviously, that's, if you're building your own product. If you're not, then you're just buying something off of them, and just make sure that you got all the quality and all the stuff that you need clearly communicated, and make sure that you get that sample. You check that sample. Don't just get one sample. Get a few different samples. So make sure the qualities are consistent to what you want. Okay. The next step is closing the gap. Now, this is where most people fail. They assume that the factory understands. And believe me, think of them as 3 years old. Okay? You want to explain everything and make sure they are not missing any detail. Every point must be checked and confirmed. And there are three major differences I always tell people about when they're working with a different culture, right? First of all, you're dealing with a complete different language. Okay, they have a complete different culture, and the infrastructure of whether it's business or basically the entire country is different. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are closing that gap completely. Now, let me tell you a little story, and you'll totally get the point. I was at the high-tech factory in China, right? One of those places that you go in and you have to wear the entire dust-free suit and get yourself going through a tunnel, get disinfected or something like that, right? And they put spray all that bug spray on you or something. Okay, but anyway, so I was going through that tunnel and I went into the factory, and in there was this worker, and his job was to clean up the place. And so we were at this bathroom, and it was like hell. I mean, it was filthy, right? So the floor supervisor just called up this guy and say, "Hey, didn't I tell you to clean up the bathroom? Like make sure that it's spotless and things like that." And then the guy was like, "Well, but I did clean. I mean, it is cleaner than my than my own bed. And that was when it hit me. I'm like, wow, like this is, like we have such a difference in our understanding that a lot of time they don't really try to screw you. I mean, it's just, like they just don't know any better. Okay, so you want to make sure that you clearly communicate with them and establish all the points with them. Okay, and yeah, so just like every buyer, who have been lied to and mistreated by someone, this factory, they are no different. They have also been mistreated and lied by someone else before. Okay, so if you don't address these differences head on, then you are going to get screwed. And when you do address them ahead of time, you get amazing suppliers that you can build a wonderful relationship with, get fantastic products, and ultimately make you a lot more money. That's why we leave nothing to chance here. Now, step number 3 is establishing your SOP, standard operating procedure, right? Like I said, factory runs a very complex system, and a lot of times a production line will have 40 to 50 people with many inspectors along different points of production. So every person along the production line needs to know exactly what to do in order to produce a product. Now, just to show you a little bit, this is kind of like a flow chart of the entire production process. Okay, so it goes all the way from when the product comes into the inventory and it gets inventory checked, and all the way to different processes that go through the production, and it's very, very complicated, as you can see, right? So you want to make sure that the SOP are established, and that way there's no misunderstanding, and that they can produce the kind of quality that you want. And you want to leave nothing to chance, okay? If necessary, if you cannot communicate, preferably you will find someone that can communicate well in English. If not, if it's necessary, you might have to get an interpreter. You can get an interpreter pretty easily. Go to like Elance or Odesk and find a Chinese VA or something, right? They can help you interpret with your factory. You want to make sure that you review all the documents beforehand and make sure that every point matches what you want. And you want to keep dual language copies, so in case there is some dispute, then you have something that you can go back on, right? And match everything carefully again, okay? So by doing that, you demonstrate how good you are, and the better you are, the less chance are the factory are just gonna go wink at it and then screw up the products for you, okay? Why is that important? You see, because you will gain their respect. By doing that, they will know that you're someone serious, and they will take your communication much more seriously. You will have better prices, you'll get smoother deliveries, and you will get a lot more profit again. Now, don't worry about getting a Chinese contract. It's actually not that difficult. You should have a Chinese contract because that's the only thing you'll be able to fall back on in case of something goes wrong. Now, how can you easily get one without an expensive lawyer? Here's a simple formula that works well. Okay. First, you have a draft in English, and then you hire a Chinese VA on Elance or on Odesk. They can help you translate that. You get that signed in both languages. Now, Chinese contracts are, what you will find is Chinese contracts are relatively simple as compared to English contracts. The legislative system in China, most of the time, they don't need to dot every T and I's and things like that. So it's actually a lot simpler. So something that you do in English might be a 10, 20 page contract, but in Chinese, it's normally very simple, 2 or 3 pages. So, but just that enough, I mean, that's enough for you to cover yourself, okay? So it's not that hard. Now, you want to keep both originals, English and Chinese. Pretty simple, right? Don't need to overcomplicate this stuff. Yeah, it's quite simple, boys and girls. Cool. So our next step is shipping and delivery. Okay, so you want to know whether you are shipping by air or by ocean. Now, some of the lighter stuff, it's probably easier to ship by air. You get a much faster delivery. You will get it within a week. Or if you want to ship on a larger scale, then you want to ship by ocean. You can do a loose container load, okay, or a full container load. Now, if you want to do a loose container load when you first getting started, it's actually not that difficult. All you have to do is find a freight forwarder that does this type of stuff, and they are very experienced. So you don't have to worry about those being delivered to the warehouse and having discrepancy and things like that. A lot of times, this co-loader, that's what we call it in shipping, they will actually take your products and make sure they are loaded correctly to the container, and when it lands at your port, they will basically take them out of the custom and put it in a bonded warehouse and make sure that there's no discrepancy before you pick up, right? If there's a discrepancy, they'll help you file a discrepancy report, and that make your life a lot easier. So you want to make sure that if you are shipping by loose freight, you want to work with some freight forwarder that does that. Okay, and you got to know your product category. Knowing your product category can make a whole lot of difference when you are reporting your duty. For example, if you in the garment industry, you are shipping garment. Basically, what they have is the U.S. Customs have a HTS code that they use to determine what kind of duty you should pay for. Okay, and by knowing your product and claiming the correct HTS code can save you a lot on your duty. So, for example, if your product is 90% silk and 10% polyester, right? Rather than claiming 100% silk, you want to make sure you are claiming a 90% silk. That's going to help you save some duty. Okay, so and things like that. And you can figure all that out by having a good custom broker that will help you do that. Now, also another thing is you want to work with a supplier that's familiar with exporting to your country, because they will know every single regulation that must match, right? What works best for you, right? So if you are shipping, for example, you are buying electronics or something like that, then they will know what kind of safety regulation, for example, ETL, CE, or in Europe they use like RoHS and things like that, which it's much better when you work with a supplier that's familiar, that will look after all this regulation for you beforehand, rather than have something that you have to recover by the time it gets to your port. Okay, so that's very simple, right? And insurance. Now, do you want to have insurance? Well, out of all the years that I've been in the import-export business, I never ever had to buy insurance. Or the only time I can remember out of the 24 years is that one time there was a container at there was some big store in the Philippines or something like that, and then the container had a little bit of had a hole or something like that, and water got into it. But that's the only time. So it is up to you. I don't do it, but if you want to do it, just when you first started working with a new supplier, it won't cost you a lot. Just get something going. Make sure that you have everything in the proper working order. Then you can decide if you want to continue having insurance or not. So, if you are someone who really wants to make tons of profit and deliver great products to your marketplace, you might be wondering how you can implement all the tactics and strategies I have just shown you quickly and easily. Clearly, everybody knows that buying from China will make you a lot more competitive and make you tons of money. Now, just look at how many companies are buying from China. That's why you are smart to start importing from China now. Okay, listen. I'm not going to get all hypey and try to get you all hyped up about what this is and how this can help you. You have listened to me, you have heard my story, and you know what I'm saying can help you. So what I want to do is, I just want to go over exactly how it can help you. And if it's right for you, then I want you to take action. If it's not right for you, I don't want you to do anything. I'm going to do this without fanfare. I'm going to do this without hype. Here's what it is. What I have just shown you is the exact system I have personally used to find the best suppliers and prices from China. And if you'd like me to help you implement everything we have come over, I'll be delighted to. And here's how it will work. Now, I have allocated some time to talk to people on this training and go over your import business on a more specific basis. We'll go through your particular industry and tailor something that's easy for you to implement right away. Oh yes, and there will be no charge for this. Right away, you will know what to do and where to start your importing from China. Naturally, if you implement everything I just shared with you, you will see amazing results in your importing business. And that's why you should take advantage of this clarity session. It's free, and you can get your session by clicking on the link that I'll be sharing with you. Now, I'm rolling out this to the public very soon, and the demand will go up, and I won't be able to talk to everybody. So, if you think we're a good fit, then you want to take action right now. So, here are something that I think are probably true about you. If you are anything like me, and you are here with me right now, you are listening to this webinar, and you know buying from China is a good idea. And if you do this approach, it's probably going to help you do well with your import business. That's why I have allocated some time to do this import clarity session. So, if you want to build a network of amazing suppliers, get great quality products, and get tons of profits starting right now, if you want to increase your sales, if you want to increase your profits, if you want to get tons of quality products to your customers, build massive amount of goodwill with them, and sell like crazy, starting right now, this is specifically designed for you. And here's how we will do it. During this import clarity session, we'll get on the phone for about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll find out about your products or the products that you want to sell, and we'll lay out a specific plan on how you can approach it. You can ask me any question you want during this session, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Now, you are getting the exact same system that I used to help Fortune 500 companies, and I'm doing it all for free. You won't be sold anything, and you will have a clear understanding on what to do to start importing right away. Now, why am I doing this? Because some people might not want to do it themselves and ask to partner up with me. And we can discuss about that during our session. But if you don't want to and you want to, implement everything on your own, that's okay with me. All I ask is that you let me know about your success and how you are doing. But it gets even better. I will answer any question you might have about importing and point you to the right direction right from the start. Right, here is the link, markhong.wufu.com/forms/tell-me-more-. Man, that's a long link address that you have to type in there. So I'm going to try to find something here on the right that you can click on. But if not, then just write it down and type it in. And here's what I want you to do next. Okay, click on the link, fill out the form. Don't worry, it's very short. It will take you literally 15 seconds to do it. So I can get on it and do some research for you. Then we'll get on the phone, we'll talk, and together we'll figure out something that you can do next. You will learn how to build a network of awesome suppliers, make tons of profit, and build trust with your customer, and have a quality product that sells. Think now. Again, here's the link, markhong.wufu.com/forms/tell-me-more-. But it still gets better than that, okay? I might be able to help you get your products at big chain prices. Now, how do I do that? Well, like I told you, I work with many of the Fortune 500 companies and many of the big chain stores. So if you're looking for some product that I'm already helping this company with, then I can probably help you even more. But we'll be able to discuss all that. This is my ultimate guarantee to you. You will have everything to gain and nothing to lose. So here's a recap. We'll get on the phone for about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll find out what product suits you best, and we'll lay out a complete plan for you so you can execute right away. Ask me any question you want during that session. Now, I have to warn you, I'm opening up to the public very soon. By end of this month, I'll be talking to over 5,000 people. I'm partnering up with somebody, and so this is going to go out on a very big scale. So my time is very limited. I only have the next couple of weeks to talk to people, and I cannot talk to everybody. You will learn the fastest way to get started on your import business, some of the perk of being an early bird, right? And best of all, I got nothing to sell, so you can't go wrong. And like I said, I'm doing it. I'm going to the public by end of the month, so I will not be able to talk to a lot of people. So the earlier you can grab it, the better. Now I can only take on 10 people, so if this is right for you, I want you to grab it now. So you have watched this entire presentation. You want a profitable import business that brings you tons of profit, and you know this is an excellent chance for you to grab that. Take advantage of this incredible offer. You simply cannot lose. Now just go down to this link, markhong.wufu.com/form/tell-me-more-. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure serving you. I hope you enjoy watching this presentation as much as I enjoy making it for you. And if you have any question, stick around and I'll be here to answer your question.